It might be April where you are, and you're expecting nice weather, but it's 20 degrees. So, you might be somewhere where it's too fucking hot. So, you might have sore legs, sore back, sore shoulder. So, the struggle is real. It never gets any easier. You gotta get harder.
Well, think about when you build willpower, and think about how much I've built. Everything I've ever done in my life, I didn't want to do. Everything, every day. I'm a lazy piece of shit. And I'm one of the hardest working people that ever stepped foot on this planet Earth. And I'm saying that very proudly because I know what I do. It's not cocky. I'll tell you I'm stupid. And I'll also tell you the exact opposite of what I've done. It's the truth. It is the truth. So imagine how much I've developed in that time frame. I watched a lot of movies, and I was really big into visualization. And I always equated working out to struggle. And I struggled my whole life, but I ran from it. So I started realizing, man, I gotta start facing the struggle, and I gotta be mentally strong for the struggle. So that's why I started coming up with I'm training for life. Mentally, I'm training for life. I'm not training for to lift 400 pounds. And I found out on my own pretty much, is that through discipline, through self-discipline, through repetition, through tons of repetition of the same thing that you don't want to do, you develop mental, like an armor for your mind. Start to armor your mind, because your mind's like, okay, we suffer every day. It's what we do. We do stuff that sucks every day. So then when the suck stuff comes, you're ready for it. And that's how I started coming up. I just started being very uncomfortable. And now it's like just a way of life. So what I do, my self-talk, is basically going back down memory lane of all those fucked up days. I ran in the fucking rain, or I had to fucking study real late at night, and I didn't want to do it, but I did it to get here. I wanted to get here. Yeah. Now you're here, and now you want to fucking quit? Yeah. I rode a bike a lot to lose the first initial kind of weight, because my bones were just hurting so bad. My body was just broken. And I learned to get over that also. And I tried to swim a lot. I wasn't a great swimmer, but putting fins on kind of equalized my body. I wasn't so negative buoyant. So I started finning a whole bunch. And I spent hours in the pool, trying to get more and more comfortable. Not because I was going underwater. I was so scared of the water that I had to live in the water. I had to become one with the water. So going to the pool used to scare me. So I went to the pool an awful lot. And then the bike got easier. I was able to run more. I went from 1 mile. 1 mile was a great accomplishment. 2 miles, and then from 2 to 3 was a big one. Then I went from 3 to 6.
I was out yesterday, getting after it. Had one of the best runs I've had in a long time. PR'd that bitch. So, no one cares what you did yesterday. It only matters what you're doing today. Those who take me literally. So, I'm a cheerleader for those who want to be better, not for those who want to stay the same. Stay hard.
Why most people don't want to do that, build that willpower, is because it is scary. It unlocks a whole bunch of things about who you are and who you're not. And a lot of people don't want to go down that journey to discover who they are and who they're not. Because it's not a pretty journey. I mean, I've gone down it. It's not like I went down it once. I go down it all the time. And when you unlock that, and you can't just turn it off. Like people say, hey, well, how come you haven't retired yet? I built all this willpower. Do you think it's gonna let me just retire because my knees hurt? It's telling me every morning, I wake up like, man, my knees hurt, my legs hurt, my body hurts, but you can still run. So why aren't you running? If you can still run, there'll be a time when you can't lace them up anymore, but you can still run. So I still run. I learned how to control my adrenals. If you know how you get that fight or flight response when you get to move real quick.
Yeah.
And I started learning the mind a lot, how to get myself jacked extremely fast, like in a horrible environment when everybody's miserable. I learned how to really find strength in the misery. When everybody's suffering, everybody's all poopy pants and their mentality's down and everything, I started just like, my God, this is where I shine. And I started using all that misery for tons of drive and motivation to then lead people further. There's a lot of programs that are 30 days. And 30-day programs are good, but it's kind of a hack. Because while they say it takes 3 weeks to develop a habit or it's always this hacky shit.
Whatever it is, yeah.
I'm gonna tell you right now, 30 days ain't gonna do shit for you. The permanent, you wanna make it permanent. Permanent, you start talking about a year, 18 months, 2 years, that's a sacrifice. And when you commit yourself to something for a year, you're not gonna say, oh, I'm gonna let that go. Because in your mind, you have it clear as day. That year took a lot out of me. That year built me. That year started to scrape away all that scar tissue, started to clean me up. 30 days doesn't clean shit up. 30 days just kind of covers up, put a blanket over it. It's like putting a rug over it. A year, it cleans you up nicely, man. Whatever your problem is, if you can dedicate yourself for a year to something, you can be a changed person. Because you can get a lot of power through misery. And once people see that, my God, Goggins is fucking going, then everybody says, roger that. Let me get my shit and go too. So I started realizing that if you can just find strength just a little bit longer, you will have a crew of people following you along the way. Like they have a warning order that they give people to get ready for buds. And the whole thing was running 6 miles 5 days a week. And that was my goal. And so I failed, I go back to scratch. I use some positive motivation. I have like one day where I'm like fucking defeated. But I started realizing this is part of the process. This is part of the journey. I had to realize this is part of my process versus just saying, like I used to, I'm just not good enough. If I'm not good enough, we always say that shit. I'm just not good enough, and then we try something else. I'm gonna fucking make myself good enough. And that became my mentality. I'm gonna make myself good enough. When the time comes I can't run, the body will say, you just can't run. But if I can still do something, that willpower that I have created, it makes me do it every fucking day. And that's what they don't get. What builds a human being is you start with the small building blocks. And before you know it, man, you become something that it doesn't even make sense to most people because it's just who you are now. That's why I can still run at 50 with broke down knees and broke down body. Because my body knows you still can, therefore I do. Second you stop, the willpower is gone. So you gotta be mindful, but this thing about it, if you haven't put in any hard work to reflect on, you're fucked. Yeah. All this like people wanna be all positive, all this positive talk, it doesn't work if it's a lie. Like if you didn't study for your big exam and you go into it saying, I'm gonna pass it, no, you're not. Yeah. You're gonna fucking fail it. Yeah. That self-talk is not gonna work. Self-talk without real work is just a lie. Yeah. So my self-talk is me reminiscing back on the struggle to get to this moment. And that tells me we're not quitting today. Yeah. Not today. Yeah. And so I'm misunderstood a lot, but that's all it came down to. I made myself good enough. And the days I couldn't run that far, the next week, I would do 2-a-days. So like on the running, if I ran a quarter of a mile, I wait a fucking couple hours, it haunt me, bother me, I try to run a half a mile the next time, same day. You can do more than this. If I had to walk, I had to walk. It just became just a process of grinding, and grinding is not even a good word for it. It's not even a good word for it. And just going further and further. And then when I got through running, I go to the bike, I go to the pool. If I got tired somewhere, my legs were tired, I go to the gym. We have an epidemic in this world. The epidemic I'm talking about is a lot of people bitch about fucking everything. They bitch about not having time. They bitch about their boss. They bitch about their husband. They bitch about their lives. They bitch about everything. We bitch about everything in life, but we do nothing about it. Very few people do anything about it. I'm fat. I'm out of shape. All these fucking things. What the fuck are you doing about it? You gotta take action in your life. You gotta stop bitching. You gotta start find a solution to your fucking problem. Don't be the problem. Take action. For every action, there's an opposite reaction. If all you do is bitch, nothing's gonna happen in your life. Take action, take control, stay hard. There is no get out of jail free card. This is why I say stay hard. Because when you weren't given the gifts, the only thing you can do in life is stay hard. And I know people cannot stand me. They can't stand this talk. This is all you can do. There's no magic pill or a magic potion. All you can do is outwork the man that God created or woman in you. And what that looks like is unfun. That's why I said do not do a documentary on me. Because people will not see the truth. They will see what they want to see. Is I don't want to live like that. You're not the smartest person in school. I had that issue. So my big thing was how I addressed that problem was I had to sit down. Each thing that is wrong with you has to be a focal point. You can't look at this gigantic list and say, I gotta change all this shit. My God, this is crazy. No. You take off the first one. I want to be smarter. For me, that was my thing. I have to become more intelligent. I have such a severe learning disability, man. I can't retain shit. I had to now get that one thing and then strategize in that one problem. How can I do this? I'm not gonna learn like you. I'm not gonna learn like anybody else. How am I gonna figure this out?
Well, we have a long, long, long way to go. And this world isn't fair. It's fair enough. So where's your excuse? I see a lot of finger pointing, tons of people blaming other people for different shit. One big thing is this: fear. Fear keeps a lot of motherfuckers from being successful. It keeps you making excuses for yourself. Fear lives one place and one place only, and that's in your mind. Martin Luther King had a dream. Don't let fear fuck yours up. Stay hard.
Is life suffering?
There's a part of it that has to be about suffering. When I post about suffering, this whole new, kindler, gentler, soft-ass fucking world, they just fucking, oh God, this is horrible. I'm not talking about you have to go through cancer. But I guarantee one thing, man, I bet you're a better motherfucker mentally if you look at it the right way. Everything I went through in my life, every bad fucking thing I went through in my life, the 2 heart surgeries, all the name calling, being everything I went through. If you learn how to flip that motherfucker on top of his head and say, hang on, there's so much power in this fucking thing. And if you look at life as it is a trial ground, a testing ground for where you need to belong, where you need to go, suffering is a fact of life. And if you look at suffering the right way, it's a great tool to callous your mind.
I get a lot of questions about how I lost so much weight. People want to know how they can get started. So basically, you're thinking too much off the bat. When I lost my fucking weight, I didn't look for a trainer. I didn't do all that thinking. I didn't go on Jenny Craig. I didn't do all that shit. What I did was I basically stopped eating so much fucking food. I cut my calories down. So as far as the workout goes, we overthink that also. Until you find a trainer, go out there and start fucking walking. Put some shoes on, start running. Go to the gym, do the elliptical trainer. It's not rocket science. A lot of folks talk about overtraining. You gotta train first before you can overtrain. Sometimes you wake up in the morning time and you're sore and you feel like you're overtrained. No, you got sore fucking legs. Get out of your own head and stop overthinking it. Stay hard.
I was afraid to make that stand. So this process was going on a long time in my mind. Mm-hmm. You know, I was afraid of this, afraid of that, afraid of this, afraid of that. I knew I had to face this shit, man. But through facing a lot of this stuff, that's what started happening to me. Through facing it, I started getting more and more courage very fast.
One thing at a time.
One thing at a time.
Yeah.
So when I overcame the water, more courage.
Right.
When I overcame the fear of myself, the fear of failure, the fear of being judged, the fear of kind of like, so in this process, I went from David Goggins, I started forming a guy named Goggins. Mm-hmm. I had to really I realized I had to reinvent a whole nother human being within myself, because who I am wasn't going to make it. This guy is not going to cut it. So I had to be a guy who can take any kind of pain, any kind of suffering, any kind of torture, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. If you look at it as suffering, woe is me, this is bullshit, God, kicking rocks. If you look at it like, okay, motherfucker, you're testing me now. I get it. Whenever I'm being like depressed, I go through depressed moments, I go, oh, hang on. I'm getting tested. So you have to be aware of all the signals and signs that are being given to you from the world. One of them is if you feel bad, you're being tested. How are you going to perform under that? And that's suffering is a part of life.
I'd rather you hate me and get better than like me and stay the same. A lot of us are full of shit. I was one of those people back in the fucking day. And sometimes I'm still full of shit. We think that we're working our ass off, working hard. You know, we've been working out hard in the gym for a month, but we haven't seen any results. So we get all fucking down and poopy pants and shit. You study for 30 minutes for a fucking test, and you didn't do as well as you thought. What the fuck did you expect? You're not putting in the work. You have to do more. You gotta stop telling yourself that you're doing enough. In life, it's never enough until you feel this overwhelming feeling of shit, man. I'm outworking the crowd. I'm outworking everybody. I'm doing more. It's not until then, once you get there, that's when you fucking know you've done enough. Stay hard.
A few weeks ago, I was in the gym working out, and this NBA player walks in with his trainer. I could tell by the exercise they were doing, he was used to doing just 12 reps. Because when the trainer said, let's do 15 today, he got a little attitude. It became very clear to me on why he was a bench warmer. Having that bare minimum fucking attitude would keep your ass on that bench. If you heard what kind of bitch he was being in that moment, he wouldn't have said it. It motivated me though. It was locked in my brain, it's still there now, on how he sounded. It kept me in the gym another 2 hours. The thing about it is this, it's not just the 3 reps that he fails to fucking recognize. It's what happens in those 3 fucking reps that make you better. Never do the bare minimum. Stay hard.